3, 2, 1, here we go. Welcome, everybody, to episode 177, The Last Breath Huntcast. Not sure what time of day you're listening, but good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. All of the above. We appreciate you're here. This is part 2 of a multi-part How to Kill More Coyotes series. Today, we have in studio Eric Russell, who is a local celebrity around here, and Jamie Hoffman again from Dark Knight Outdoors. Now, Eric and Jamie work really closely together. Eric's partner, I say that, hunting partner, I should say that, more importantly, hunting partner, is Ron Moss. He's a really well-known coyote killer in the area. Ron actually is in Hawaii right now. So he was supposed to be here. We had a mishap with some audio issues, and so he's actually out of country. We wanted to make sure and get this still recorded. So Eric and Ron really tag team a lot in the Mercer County, Rock Island County, Henderson County areas, and just destroy coyotes on a local level. Jamie's here to talk about some of the gear that they're using to go in more detail. And actually, I'm going to prime Jamie a little bit for some of the really cool stuff that happened at the SHOT Show, particularly around like coyote hunting and the thermal industry. But today we're going to break down similar to how we did with Chris Kriener. We're going to ask very similar questions to Eric to talk about, okay, what are you doing? What are you using? How are you making it work? And just figure out again what these guys are doing to stack up song dogs all throughout the year. But before we do that, we need to thank the people that make this possible. Badlands Gear, fantastic stuff. I've been talking about them for a long time now, and it almost seems like Groundhog Day. We love working with them. Their stuff has an unconditional lifetime warranty, which just sets them apart from a lot of other manufacturers out there. And they have some new garments that they launched at the ATA show. And I think you're going to find that they're going to launch new garments throughout the year as well. So keep up with them. Awesome company to work with. Absolutely awesome gear. Next is Tompkins Taxidermy. Actually, Wayne Michael and I went out coyote hunting about a week ago. We had a white hot night. We called in 17 coyotes in one night. And man, it was a ton of fun. We had a couple swings and misses here and there. I shot 4 coyotes. One of them I shot, he was far, dude. It was like the farthest shot that I've made on a coyote at night by far, somewhere around the 450 yard mark. Shot him, did the twirl, run fall, made it to the timber, and we didn't go look too hard for him, I should say. And then next is going to be Moultrie Mobile. Those guys came out with their new Edge camera, and they have some incredible data on their app that you can utilize to make yourself freaking awesome hunters. And in fact, I've been actually my cell cams have still been running, and surprisingly, I'm almost looking more for coyotes than I am deer right now. Shed season is around the corner, but that app is just really cool because I can hit identify animal, filter by coyote, and all I see are pictures of coyotes. And last is Dark Knight Outdoors. Jamie Hoffman himself is going to be here. I'm really excited to be working with those guys. Bill and Jamie are just down-to-earth, good guys. And since I've been working with them, I've been getting feedback more and more about customers that have used them, and not even local customers from afar. And what separates them from, I think, some other places is that some of the stories that I'm hearing with these customers is that I didn't buy my scope at Dark Knight, but Jamie went through the ringer to make sure that my warranty was taken care of. I'll be going there next time. Or a lot of those customers started where they maybe didn't buy the scope from them, but just how helpful that Jamie and Bill were, whether it's in a technical question or a battery question or a calling question, any of the above, they've really been able to capture everybody that calls there just because they're so willing to help. So Dark Knight Outdoors, you should check them out. If you have anything coyote hunting related or thermal hunting related, I would give those guys a buzz because they'll spend the time on the phone with you to go through everything that you need to make sure that you leave with all the information that they can pass along to you. So now that we have that out of the way, the last thing is you're going to notice that the intro has been killed. I sent out a poll. The Last Breath Inner Circle is where I do a lot of my poking and prodding. If you're not a part of that group, I would recommend to jump in there. A lot of good interactions. The outdoors men and women in there are just, they seem to be really positive. There's some other groups that, you know how it goes. You post something and then somebody starts ragging on you and then the memes fly, and that's all well and good. But sometimes it's just nice to be in a group that's really positive, that's really upbeat and uplifting. And the Last Breath Inner Circle is that. So I put a poll in there, asked those guys and gals, hey, do you want an intro or do you want me to just skip it? Because if you're a long-time listener, you know that same 1-minute introduction is going to be there every time. So I'm going to forego that until I get some negative feedback that I need to bring back an official quote-unquote brick and mortar intro. We're just going to start the podcast running. So Jamie and Eric should be here any minute. We're going to get them mic'd up, do an audio check, and get them in the podcast, and we'll start figuring out how Eric kills so many coyotes a year. Okay, we got Eric and Jamie here in the hot seat. Go ahead and introduce yourself, guys. Eric's sitting right across from me, and so is Jamie. Eric, you first.
Hey, Eric Russell, 50 years old.
That's a good number.
From Joy, Illinois, and I've been doing a lot of coyote hunting for quite some time now, quite a few years.
How many coyotes have you killed so far this year?
Well, last year we were over 100. This year, not as many, but we haven't been out as much.
Are you waiting for weather, for tournaments?
Just for all of us, everybody's going on vacations, and it seems like I haven't been able to get my team all together. But individually, just here and there, popping a few coyotes here and there on the weekends.
Nice. Now, Jamie, have you hunted much yet this year?
A little bit, not a ton, but with being so busy with Dark Night Outdoors, it's just it's really tough to get out. But we have been out a few times and had some success. Some nights not as much success, but it's been pretty good. And I think we've gotten probably like 15 or 20 coyotes so far this year. So
dang, so
not very much though.
You're right. I mean, I'm at a minus 32. I mean, so that's. But this is me hitting it pretty hard. Like I was lucky I killed a buck that I wanted to kill early, and I started coyote hunting well before deer season was over, which is kind of abnormal for some guys. But anyway, I think we need to probably at least give a little bit of love to Mr. Ron Moss. He was supposed to be here originally, and then so he's on his way to Hawaii now.
Yep, he'll be leaving tomorrow, I believe, and he's just under the weather a little bit.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he gets some sunshine, some white sand beaches. Some like Mahalo Alos or whatever those Foo Magoo drinks are. Does he drink those or is he a beer guy?
I'm not 100% sure. I'll let him answer that.
Okay. Well, so anyway, he's kind of like your second hand man, right?
Yeah, he is. We've been hunting together here for the last few years, and I've got my brother, Matt, is a Moline police officer.
I met him.
And he usually goes with us too.
Nice. So the three-man combo.
Three-man combo usually. If one of them's not around or if I'm not around, we could fill in. I got other brothers that go, or my son too, that like to go hunting here and there too.
Perfect. All right. So now that we know who you are, and like again, we introduced Dark Knight at the beginning, but Jamie runs and owns Dark Knight. And then Eric, do you mind sharing what you do for your day job?
Sure. I work for Biddle Farm Inc., raising pigs, and I manage one of his sow units north of Joy, and we got like 3,000 sows, and we try to move out close to 90,000 babies a year. Yep.
Jeez, man. So backstory to me is I was born and raised up on a hog and grain farm, and we did like farrow to finish, much different than what you guys do. Ours is antibiotic free, but that's a whole nother conversation. So getting into this here, this is the stuff that you're gonna like grovel over, and that's your firearm setup, because you're a gun guy. I mean, not only do you kill a lot of coyotes, you're a geek when it comes to long range shooting.
Yeah, kind of a nerd about it. I like the scientific part about it, the external ballistics of the bullets and how they fly through the air and figuring things out. I like figuring things out for other people too. We do a lot of long range shooting and stuff like that. So as for my setup, is that what you want to know?
That's what I want to know. What gun are you running?
Right now, currently, I'm running a 243, and I've switched to a lighter bullet here recently just to see how it's going to work. I'm shooting just a little 55 grain nozzler ballistic tip.
Screaming.
I'm running it, I think 39-30, I think, out of a 20-inch barrel. Jeez. It's a 1 in 10 twist. It does real well inside of 350, maybe 300. I mean, you're just holding on hair and squeezing, and I mean, they usually drop right in their tracks with it. Now, as it gets out there, now Now, the nerd side of me is going into that. You want to pay attention to your impact velocity on the bullet because every bullet acts different. And I like to make sure most of my bullets, when they impact, are going at least 1,600 feet a second.
Jeez.
Seems like then they'll open up good. Well, that little 55's max is pushing right around 500.
Really?
So about 500 yards, you're getting right to the end. You can still hit your target, but you're gonna, you're gonna get a lot more spinners and runoffs and all that.
You're not going to have that shock.
Correct. You don't have that static, just that impact shock.
Now, are you running a bolt gun or an AR?
I'm running actually an AR-10.
Nice.
With it right now.
And a 20-inch barrel.
And a 20-inch barrel, 1 in 10 twist.
And you're reloading.
I hand load everything. I can't even recall the last time I bought ammo in the last 30 years.
Well, you must not shoot much 9 or 22 then.
No. Well, we do buy 22s. Me and my brothers shoot 22s, and actually we shoot long-range targets 400 yards or so out with 22 long rifles. Yeah.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, it is cool.
All right, so Jamie, you're running something similar to me. What are you running?
224 Valkyrie.
Yep.
It's on the AR platform.
Right.
And just a 55 grain Nosler bullet. It seems to work really good for us. I like the smaller, the AR-15 platform versus the AR-10, just a little bit lighter. A little bit easier to carry, but no, that's pretty much our go-to.
Nice. And the nice thing about both of those is really, especially like on the AR-10 platform, really mitigated recoil.
Yeah.
Especially that light bullet. You got that big, heavy BCG. Because I built a lot of those things. Now, one question I've been asking some of the guys that I know, some of the nicer AR lowers will have a place for a tension screw between your upper and lower.
Mine does not have that.
Do you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
I do
So
know
you
what
can
you're
kind of
talking about,
eliminate
yes.
that wiggle. Do you know if yours has that?
My AR-15 does.
Yes.
It depends on the upper and lowers that you've got. If you have kind of a billet aluminum upper and lower, a lot of times they will have that set screw in there. Or there's also some plugs that you can buy as well
Yes.
to eliminate that wiggle that you have to kind of trim them and custom fit them to your gun. But they work actually pretty well too. So
Well, in mine, it might be a little gimmick. I put one of those Accu wedges.
that's what I was
Little
talking
rubber
about.
Accu wedges I put in there, and it's harder to get the pin
Oh,
to
yeah.
slide in. But once you get it in, it feels solid. Then.
Yes, and that's I started doing that to all my stuff just for fitment to be so nice and tight because you got to think that's got to affect some degree of your accuracy.
Right.
Something else that I've recently looked into is like your AR-15 or AR-10 lapping tool for the upper. So your barrels, like I'm sure you have a 1 in 10 twist, probably a custom barrel. It's he's laughing.
I like custom barrels.
Yeah, well, it's not cheap being cool, Eric. You know that, right? And you're probably the coolest guy in the room right now.
I don't know.
So, but this a device. You know, a lot of your really nice match grade barrels, high end barrels, will be perfect. But depending on the upper that you get, you have an opportunity, even for like coating buildup, to change that tolerance. Maybe they're even a thousandth. So this lapping tool plugs in just like your AR barrel would, and you hone the face of essentially your AR upper, so that if it touches it, you have a perfect fit. I haven't done anything to mine yet, just because I'm like, man, my stuff is shooting well.
Yeah.
But like, I could see how if you were fighting a gun and you're like, I just can't get this thing to shoot right, that'd be a good place to start. And I just recently learned about it. So anyway, so we covered your platforms.
My current platform.
Your current platform.
Yeah, I've got one in the works right now.
Uh-oh.
It's from DNA Firearm Systems.
Okay.
It's in the 22 Creed, and talking real extensive nerdy stuff and all that. It's going to be running a 1 in 8 twist.
Okay. So you're going to go heavier.
Yes, I'm going to run. It's going to be a burger bullet. It's an 80.5 grain full bore, and the BC ballistic coefficient on that will extend my range out. Remember the 55 I talked about going to 500 yards?
Correct.
This one, I could still keep it above 1,600 out to 700 yards. So,
Dang.
And it hits with authority.
So
That bullet's probably going 30. I think it's 34.25 out of his, and it's got a proof research carbon fiber barrel on it, and it's a sweet setup. And it's like you were talking about earlier, Jamie. That AR platform is an AR-10, but it's about as light as any AR-15 out
Right,
there. They are
right.
very light.
So I have got to introduce you to Shane Jones. He switched to the 22 Creedmoor.
Yeah.
He is a geek just like you. If I ever have one reloading question, I call him.
Yeah.
And he's the guy that I told you that killed that antelope at like 1,000 yards. I don't know who made his Creedmoor, but it's a bolt gun, carbon fiber. I mean,
Yeah.
he talks just like you.
Yeah.
You and him in a room together probably would like,
Would be hoarse
oh my God.
by the end of the night.
So that's really interesting to know. Let's talk about your optics now. This is a big deal. Thermal games here. We're talking all thermal. Jamie, you have everything that you could ever want at your fingertips, right? So you're cheating.
Correct. Yes.
You've played around with several, and I know you're running a new one right now.
I am running a new one. Do you want me to start out with the new one? Or?
Go for it, man. What are you running?
The new one right now, I'm running. Jamie hooked me up with the Envision, the Halo XRF,
Nice.
and it is very sweet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody that I talk to says nothing but great things about those.
It's spot on. Like I said, we do a lot of long range shooting, and the reticle I chose was the one with the mill radian lines in it, and we tested it out with that little 55 grainer out to 600 yards, and that's right around 3 mils for me, and it's perfect. It matches all my ballistics perfect right down to a T. I mean, whatever their spacing that they've did in that scope, their line is a true mill. I don't. Maybe all scopes are like that. These digital scopes, but some of them might be claiming that's a mill line and that's a mill dot. But I could honestly tell you the Envision one is spot on.
Well, I don't know. Jamie can testify against other digital scopes, but I know like a lot of your glass manufacturers, there's a huge spectrum, man. I mean, on even like you said, hash marks being true, let alone your dials and your turrets being true.
Correct.
So, Jamie, what are you running?
For scope,
Yes.
So far, still using a Bearing Super Yoder.
Yep.
Just have really good luck with it. I am actually looking to start running the iRay Bolt 640.
Nice.
But we actually sold out of them, so it's kind of hard to swipe one and put it on my gun when they're moving as quick as they are. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get any more back in stock. So that's a real nice scope. It's a 640. It's got a 3.5 base mag, just like the Envision does. So your longer shots, things look really nice and clear. It also has a 2560 screen inside of it, so that really helps with the clarity as well too. If I can get my hands on one, the Bearing Optics Super Yoder will be coming off, and that one will be going on if we don't sell out of them first.
Well, and like ever since we've been doing these series and the thermal podcast I did with you, a lot of guys are asking, hey, what's a good one? Sure. And to me, that Super Yoder just seems to be like the Chevy Silverado, Ford F-150 of the thermal world. Like it's the workhorse par. Like you get what you pay for. It's going to be a solid scope.
Yeah, I think for simplicity of use, I mean, I get that question all the time. What's going to be simple and easy to use? I think the Bearing Optics are a simple and easy to use scope. And on top of it, for the money, it's probably the best picture that you're going to get for the dollar.
Right.
They've been a really good scope for us. Very hot seller. But they've just been really workhorses for us.
All right, now so let's get into stabilization. Talking about your firearm setup again, your tripods. Are you guys running carbon fiber tripods? Are you doing a direct mount? Are you doing a gun saddle? What are you guys running?
Well, currently I'm running one of DNO or Dark Knight Outdoors' tripod setup with their 52 millimeter. I think it's 52 millimeter.
52 millimeter ball
head on it, and I'm not having a problem with it. It's working pretty solid. Way better than one of my brothers got one of those bog pods or whatever.
Sure.
Or death thing. Or
death
whatever.
grip, yeah.
I mean, it gets him by, but this setup's a lot lighter and a little bit better, I think.
More stable.
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, money talks when it comes to this kind of stuff. So some of the ones that I hear that are really good are them Fat Boy or the Two Vets. Tripods are very good. And some of them ball heads are really nice that's on them too. Now my brother, he's running one of Dark Knight Outdoors as a leveling base. And he really likes that, where he could just real quick make a click and it's locked solid. But it rotates and moves around just like a ball head. So that's another option too.
Yeah, the leveling bases are kind of a newer way to lock your rifle onto the tripod, and there's a lot less to go wrong with them, and there's only one knob versus two.
Sure.
So now the one downfall, I guess, would be is when you do lock it in, it is locked into the tripod, right? It doesn't swivel or it doesn't do anything until you release it. But as far as what we're seeing with a lot of tripods right now, guys are going out and hunting. They get back to their trucks, they disconnect it from their rifle. Of course, they put their rifle in the back seat of the truck, but then they throw the tripod
in the back of the truck.
In the back of the truck.
Yep.
And with the ball heads being exposed, it does allow a lot of moisture, dirt, grime, whatever, to get into
Especially
that
going
ball
down
head.
gravel roads. So then it's
Exactly.
gritty is what you're saying?
Yeah, and the dirt and the grime will get into the ball heads, and so there's a little bit more maintenance with those than there is with the leveling bases. So we've got a couple of our pro staff guys using the leveling base, and they really love it. So that's a nice feature. And with our carbon fiber tripods, a couple things to keep an eye out for is how many layers of carbon fiber are on each one of them. Ours is a 10-layer carbon fiber versus some of them are only an 8-layer, and you're going to get a lot more flimsy of legs and so forth with only 8 layers of carbon fiber.
Sure.
As far as the tripods go, we do make one. It is a great 350 to maybe 400 yard shot tripod. If you're looking to go any further than that, you're really going to have to go into more of a heavy duty, but we kind of keep ours along the line of predator hunting and that type of thing, and seems to work out really good for us.
So, Eric, I mean, is that going to be good enough for you then, Mr. 600 yard?
Well, if you've got something you could kind of position on,
Brace on, you're saying?
brace on. I mean, it's tough to beat if you've got a nice, big, round, solid fence post, say,
Right.
and you're not on track. You're resting on that. You're pretty solid then.
Right.
Or if you happen to have your sandbags or whatever, you're perfect. But nobody's going to have that.
No wonder you have all these guys. You're like, hey, I need you to bring my sandbag. Hey,
Yeah,
can you carry a
exactly.
fence post? Like, yeah, come on.
But no, every opportunity I've had this year, it's worked out fine.
So with you being long range, I got to ask, are you like the cleanup dude? Like, or like you're the
No,
Windex
sometimes
man?
sometimes I'm the first guy on the trigger too. So it's all.
Oh, he's
excitement.
close enough.
Yep,
Boom.
boom, good enough. But at other times, they hang up out there,
And all your hunting partners hate you because
Yes.
you're shooting them way before
way out
everybody
there.
else, right?
No, I usually sit back and I've killed a lot of coyotes in my years, and I get a lot of fun out of just bringing people with, calling in coyotes, letting them take their shots, and then laugh about it if they miss or whatever. But it is neat though too when you see one way out there and he thinks he's smart and he can't come in and he won't come in.
Oh, yeah.
And he is smart, but if you got the right weapon and the right setup and your stuff, and the wind is huge,
Especially those small
them
bullets.
long range shot, you gotta know your wind and how far they're gonna blow, and then if you do your thing and breathe and pull your trigger just right, it's really neat to see them drop at distance.
Well, those are the ones that you just see like literally just fall over.
Yeah.
Right. You just stone them dead. All right. So now let's get into calls. This is a big one. Like listeners are always eager about this. I'm a gun geek, so I love that type of conversation, but hand calls versus electronic calls. I mean, do you run a combination of both, or are you more specifically one or the other? What's your go-to?
Years ago, there wasn't hardly any electronic calls. I mean, the old Johnny Stewart cassette tapes, and stuff like that. And way back then, I used to just have multiple different cassette tapes, and I would just be playing and dubbing my own little sequences, my little expert hunt, of the calls that I liked, and that worked for years. And then I switched to my first electric. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was like Phantom Dimension or something, but it had a cord speaker on it, and you run that out, and you thought that was just great and everything like that. But then when we went into, I've tried different calls through the years. I've ran a Primos Alpha Dog before.
Yep.
And then we've, one's currently right now, everybody's all secretive about it, and they're doing, no. But, me, Ron, and my brother Matt, each got a different call. And right now, I've currently run an older model Wildlife Technology one. Most of all of its sound are in that 24-bit sound.
Yep. Nice
And
quality.
I don't know, it's got 120 different
Sure.
calls on it. But the remote of them looks like the old 1970s TV. There's no digital display.
No lights.
Just numbers.
Oh.
But, I've got it worked out. I've got it figured out. And no, you don't have to memorize everything once you get to learning how coyotes act. But my other brother's running a Fox Pro X-Wave with the MFK edition on it. And that's sweet, too.
Those MFK sounds are really
They
popular.
are nice.
I'm hearing a lot of that as I dive into these guys that just keep killing a lot of them. And like the funny thing is, a lot of guys weren't, they're not afraid to share the call because you can buy just about any call that you want and put it onto the call. Just because you have a Fox Pro doesn't mean you can't run a Lucky Duck sound or a Primo sound or MFK. You can get almost anything and download them on the new calls now. So it's some guys are running like I think it's a Revolt.
Yeah.
That Lucky Duck, the one that spins, is one that I hear a lot of. And then there's, I just had Chris Green on Icotech.
Yep.
Is one that he likes a lot. So there's just a lot of nice stuff.
Icotechs are kind of up and coming. They've been very popular for kind of a budget-oriented person that doesn't want to spend $600-700 on a top-of-the-line Fox Pro or say the Super Revolt and go from there. The Super Revolt's a great caller that does have a backlit remote. The Revolt does not. We do try to carry only the calls that do have backlit remotes on them, and because that is one of the largest complaints that you'll get. We do carry the Revolt still, just because it's been so popular. And it does not have a backlit keypad, but it is still a very popular caller. And man, the technology in callers has just come a really long ways. But one of the things that I get all the time is, Fox Pro, Lucky Duck, Icotech, what should I buy? And I guess my biggest recommendation is if you already have somebody, your hunting partner already has one or the other, get the opposite.
Right.
Get something
That's what
different.
we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, Ron Moss is running the Lucky Duck. I think it's a Roughneck. I think is what he's got.
So just to keep the count, sound, frequency,
if we're
everything.
at one area on a weekend and we use that one, and then the following weekend or something, or on a tournament, we might do one night. If we have to revisit that area again the following night, we'll switch it up to something different.
That's smart.
Yeah, even the same sound on different callers will sound. It'll have a different tone to it, and can be enough to trick up that coyote into thinking it's not the same sound that he heard.
Right.
So I think that's one of the key issues with that. I happen to still be running the old Krakatoa 2. By Fox Pro, which has been discontinued. I really like that caller. The reason why is it's got
They were loud.
They
Really
are
loud.
very loud for one, and for two, they had two different lithium-ion battery pack systems with it. So I like that feature because I am not the greatest at making sure all my stuff is charged before I go out. So having dual battery packs is really nice, and go from there. But any of the callers, of the upper end, you can get lithium-ion battery packs and put in them. AA batteries, they're okay, but if you've got a caller that you can actually put a lithium-ion battery in, I would highly recommend getting that. They work much better.
So I've got something to share with you. I was talking to some buddies that are big into coyote hunting, and they were saying, man, I wish my remote would have a call on it. Like not a big blaster, but like sometimes they're like, if I want to try to call back and forth like a couple coyotes, I wish I could have just a couple buttons where there's a small speaker or like a squeak. Like, the coyotes really close and I just want to keep coaxing them in as far as I can. Yep. So I don't know if there's a call maker listening. There you go.
Yeah. No, that's an awesome idea. Sometimes we keep just a few of the mouse squeakers.
Oh, yeah.
And that way you can throw one of those. But you're right. If it was on the remote and with a smaller speaker or something, it'd be great just to even get their attention or stop them. So
some of ours, they got those hot buttons on there.
Yes.
If you can adjust like your hot button just to be a little vole or a little mouse squeaker.
Oh, yeah.
But you set that so it's
super
at a low volume. So when you get him in there, and then you can just hit your hot number one,
Yep.
and it'll just kiss him in.
Yeah, I mean, it's super fun. I'm like type of guy, like I've literally thought, maybe it's because I'm hunting just the stupidest coyotes, but like getting a shotgun with a really wide base mag thermal to shotgun them, you know. But
I
I
did
think
a lot of shotgunning on them too.
with at night,
No, not at night.
yeah,
Not
at
night.
daytime I won't
Daytime.
hunt without a shotgun. Like even if I'm by myself, I'll just bring my Shockwave and set it right next to me, you know. But not many people are doing that at night though.
Yeah.
But like I know Sig Sauer has a thermal red dot, and Hollow Sun, that was one of the SHOT
Yeah.
Show things.
Yep.
Lots of question because it's like at a $1,500-$1,600 price point. So like a lot of guys are asking about it. Have you even seen it or?
Well, Sig also has a
Echo.
and it's a thermal that
Correct.
you can put on there. They're okay. They're expensive,
Right.
I guess for what they are. But I've heard some guys that like them. But we have not started carrying those yet. So it's something that we're thinking about looking at. But they have not been real super popular yet.
Are those 384 or 640? Do you?
I believe they're a 384 because it's a much smaller screen on on that. So, yeah, like I said, we've been looking at carrying them, but just getting them in and go from there. It's kind of more of a specialized thing for somebody that really wants to try something different and go from there.
So with electronic calls, especially like Fox Pros and other ones like the Foxbang, you've heard of that.
Yep.
Are you a fan of that, or do you not like it?
I am and I'm not. At one time, and here's the not about it. You accidentally bump it or drop it, bump it, and it just starts going off with your pup distress or whatever at full bore when you least wanted it to happen.
Yeah, when you're at the truck or walking in.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we've all
We
experienced
did that.
with the
So
Foxbang.
you keep things turned off until you get right there, and then you click it on and go. But I do like it after the shot. I like how it sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Now I've had one time I was calling in coyotes and I think I had 5 or 6 coming in and I was by myself and they just come in so fast, so hot. I was able to get on one of them and then it automatically switched to the pup distress after I shot and dropped him. The other 5 bolted, and I mean they went out there probably 400 yards across this open field, and then they just stopped. And you could tell they were looking like, where's their buddy at? And I just left that thing just a blaring, that pup distress. Here they came again.
Right.
And same scenario. Would not stop, bolted in, bam, shot another one. The other 4 bolted off again. They held up again at 400, 500. Here they came again.
Jeez.
Yeah, I've never had this ever happen. The last one I did shoot, he actually was more of I must not have had a perfect shot, but he was a spinner and a runner. The other one's bugged out, but the one I did shoot, that third one, he went out there probably, I think it was right around 500 yards. And in my thermal, I could see that dot out there, and it wasn't moving. And I just kept my eye on it and kept calling, but I kept my eye on him, and it wasn't moving for like 45 minutes because I stayed right there because I knew I had coyotes around me. And finally, I called my other hunting partner up and said, "Hey, I'm gonna need you to come out here and help me drag this one out."
Yeah, the 500-yarder.
Made him drag out there about 500 yards and drag it back.
Oh yeah. So
it worked out good, but yeah, I do like how that kicks on and does that. For
and
me.
you can program that to other things.
Other things.
But pup distress is your go-to.
I've been doing pup distress or some sort of coyote or something, something like that.
Yeah,
seems
after
to
that
work good.
experience, it'd be hard to go back and change up to doing something different.
When I saw that, that's what I told the buddies. Hey, switch everything to this, and just sit tight and let it blare.
Right.
Because it was such a big open field, I could see them out there, and I would just, they wouldn't slow down. They kept running back and forth, way out there. And so I never shot, and pretty soon here they came again. It took them 5 or 6 minutes. Seems like an hour, but 5 or 6 minutes,
Right.
And then here they came back again to look for him, and it was pretty cool.
And you're a fan of Foxbang as well, Jamie?
I've had it go off a few times walking out because I'm a little bit, I'll just say clumsy, and I banged it against, my gun or my tripod.
Sure.
And it's gone off. I'm not a huge fan of it. We usually shut it off, just because of that reason. But I have heard, like Eric, a lot of success with the Foxbang. So it is a pretty neat feature, and I think about 50% of the people out there use it. I don't know if, it's a do or die versus like a Lucky Duck, for example. I don't know that it would be a deciding factor for me, but, for me, I don't use it anyway. So, whether it has it or not really isn't too relevant to me.
So here's something that I heard from a couple of guys at Coyote Hunt is that if there's only one guy on the gun, or if like Shane and Robert out west and Tim, those three guys will usually go out and they'll have two guns and a guy would just dedicated the scanner and call.
That'd be awesome.
And he's like, that's it. So sometimes he'll actually, like, they'll be talking, and when they get close, like, he'll start whimpering and then he'll shoot. So he'll whimper before he shoots to, like, help mask the shot.
I gotcha.
And they sound like it's been working really good. Instead of having the shot and then the whimper, like, it turns it on, and he's like, it almost also stops those coyotes too, hearing that whimper.
I gotcha.
So, like, but they do a lot, they're big hand calls, and they have Fox Pros, but like, Tim's really good at calling this, super handy with a howler, and like, you'll just hear him start,
Right.
and that coyote will lock up and it's done. And then usually they're still hunting way into after that. And the Foxbang picks up then,
Yeah.
but they're using that at first
I gotcha.
to stop the coyote and mask the shot. So interesting. So now let's get into like hunt strategy, right? Like, okay, Eric, you are from Illinois. We have listeners that are pretty diverse. So you hunt pretty much Illinois. Anything in Iowa?
I do not.
Any Nebraskas?
Nope, I have not ventured out. I'd
Man,
love to.
big
I got a lot of nice equipment.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that.
Holy
I'd love to do that.
Especially you like shooting long
Anybody
ways.
wants me to come along, hey,
South
I'll
Dakota, Nebraska,
be
Colorado. Awesome. Okay. All right. There you go, listeners. You want a guy that can shoot, man.
Yeah.
Here it is. And Jamie, you're same way, right? Pretty local.
Yep. Just in Illinois.
I've been lucky. I've hunted Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska, and Colorado for coyotes. And it's crazy how different it is when you get west. Even like, even on like the eastern side of Iowa, those river bottoms and those pivot flats, like these coyotes just come out of nowhere. Like around here, you've got timber draws and cricks and bottoms, and you can be like, okay, I can see where coyotes are going to come from. But especially like out west in Colorado on those sage flats, it's hundreds of thousands of acres of like, you look through your scanner and you're like, all I see is yucca plants. It's the end. And all of a sudden you'll start calling and these coyotes just like
pop up,
man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you can see for days. Like, it'd be your
Sounds
cup
like my
of tea.
dream.
Oh my God. Yeah. All right. So then favorite time to hunt. You are a night hunter, but is there a certain time at night that you like to hunt?
My all-time favorite was probably, and that's just about like deer hunters too, as that sun's going down, that next hour right there is a nice golden hour that I've always enjoyed hunting. But now with all the technology of thermals and everything like that, I would say my favorite time is it's all night. And I mean, it doesn't really matter that I've been blanked nothing till 10 o'clock at night. And then all of a sudden something happens and 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, it's on. And I mean, and I've had it be nothing all the way until the next morning till 5 in the morning. And then all of a sudden here they come at 5 in the morning. So once they decide to start answering back or coming to the calls, it's fun. But my all-time favorite since I was a kid, before thermal and all that was, hey, I'm going to get out there, sit in a fence row, call in a wooded area that's a couple hundred yards away, and surrounded by foxtail around me.
Watch the sun go down.
Watch the sun go down, and just that sun's turning orange, and you don't see. Then I just start calling, and back then, I still do a lot of mouth calls too, but just that's my favorite time because you still see them. You see them. I mean, you're not looking through a cartoonish looking.
Yeah,
you're seeing it in real time coming across the field, and it's real cool.
Yeah, I like definitely the first when you start out at night,
yep.
and then pretty much when you end, because I have the best luck there. In the beginning and the end, if you hunt all night, it just seems like there's a lot of times a dead spot in between, or like Eric said, you'll start out and you won't have anything happening until later. I think a lot of people get really discouraged if they go out early or what have you, and they don't have much success early on, and they give up. But sometimes I think they're giving up on some of the best coyote hunting they'd probably ever see if they kept going and just, get through. But it is discouraging when you don't see a whole lot in the very beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it seems like there's always, every time we've gone out for a full night, there's a dead spot in there somewhere that you just don't have much success.
Sure.
So,
I mean, and you're inevitably, you're never going to call a coyote in 100% of the time you call.
no.
Nah,
know.
I'm not 100%.
Damn close though. Look at the humble mumble over
Yeah,
here.
very humble, especially after they won the Mercer County coyote contest last year with, how many dogs was it again?
I think we finished with 24.
How many days?
I think it was 2 days.
It was a 2-day hunt. Yeah.
But we actually had our best first day. I don't think a lot of the teams did well the first night, and for some reason, me, Matt, and Ron were on fire. We killed 18 of them in that first night.
Jeez. Now, do you hunt both daytime and nighttime, or just night?
Well, we were just hunting night.
Sure. So that's 18 in a night, not in a day.
Not in the day. No,
in like
I can't
8,
remember
10
what time
hours.
the thing started, but I mean, we had to be in a check-in, and then we took off after that. I think the first one was down around 7 or 8 o'clock, and then it just was on fire all night long.
And if I remember right, it was really, really windy the first night. Am I wrong on that?
No,
but I remember it was
were right.
super windy, and Ron's like, "Hey, we're going out," and I'm like, "You're crazy."
Yep.
and
we knocked down 18.
he got
of them.
18, but then when the weather
and I
got
don't think
nice,
we
then they
missed.
didn't do as well.
And the key to that, when you're content, you can't miss if you want to win, because there's multiple times where we may not have won, but we're like, hey, we saw 20 some dogs, but we got 11, or something like that.
Seeing's different than killing.
Killing, and we were all on fire that night. We weren't missing. We were dropping them right there.
So then, any tricks to staying out all night? Like, because that's a struggle for me, dude. I am
clothing.
not a night owl. I'm talking about staying awake. I can dress warm. Holy smoke! You eating caffeine tablets or what?
I'm naturally a geared up kind of guy. Everybody knows me, so I'm kind of a
yeah.
I'm up.
You're
all
wound.
Night. I'm wound all night long, just waiting.
The two things that'll get me out of the field quicker than anything is hands and feet. And
Getting cold.
Yeah. And there's some tricks you can do to try to say. I've even used heated insoles on my boots. I've even got just a heated jacket. I won't turn on because they don't last very long. The batteries wear out pretty quick. But once I do start feeling, hey, I'm getting pretty cold, then I'll click it on low, and just it'll extend me out for a little bit longer. So,
have you guys ever heard of Underwarmer? So it's a company that not many people know about. Oh my gosh, they should. And so we worked with them last year, and it's like what a hot hand is. So this is a base layer that you put on, and it's the best way to explain it. It's kind of like a white beater that has 8 of these. They're oversized too. They're like the big ones that are on. And you put it on, and it lasts for a long time. They're like $10, and you can use our code and save $3, so like $7. And I'm not kidding you, man. Like, game changer. The only thing is, it's not like a jacket you can turn off.
Turn on and off. Yep.
You can easily overdress with these things. My wife loves them because smaller, petite little girl, like she gets cold really easy, and she throws one of these on. And she's like, I am super comfortable. But yeah, I'll show them to you before you guys leave. I still talk about them today because I believe they're just a good product that not enough people know about. Because it's cheap and they work. You don't have to worry about batteries or any of that stuff.
That's
man.
awesome.
You could dress a little lighter,
lighter,
so you're not look like the Michelin man.
100%.
So you can move. That'd be nice.
Yeah. So all right. So then you talked earlier. You said about 45 minutes on that one stand, but on average, just a ballpark. What do you think your average stand is running?
Okay. It varies. It varies with what terrain I'm at, and it varies. Are we calling just for fun? It varies how much acreage do we got for that evening. I mean, if you only got a couple places to go, you might as well hang out for an hour or more.
Right.
But if we're in a tournament and we've got 20 different places to be,
You're burning.
We're burning. On those scenarios, we pop in. Do you want me to go through my sequence?
Not yet. You're jumping the gun here.
But
You're
yeah,
saying
on average, tournament time, if you got a lot of place to go to, maybe 15 minutes.
wow, fast. Okay.
15, 20 minutes and move on if there's nothing. If you got something answering, then we hang out.
Okay, so this is perfect to transition into my next question is what's your typical like call? Are you calling with a distress, a howl, barks,
Again,
what's
that goes to the terrain and our experience of that specific farm that we're at.
really?
But
So it's not like it's a same sequence every time.
no.
No.
So if I'm in an area where it's like where the boundaries are at with a fence and it's just timber and that's it. Maybe it's got a ravine down in it, but there's no open fields that I could be in. So we'll go into the timber, just a little edge enough to look down in the ravine. And them, I turn the volume down really low and maybe just put a baby cottontail, just a beep, 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 and be scanning like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've had things where 10 seconds later, you're done in that spot because it's just boom, boom, and you're dragging them bowling. So in that scenario. But another scenario might be we're out in the middle of a open field and we walk a fence line, get set up, and generally there, I usually start out with a howl, like an interrogation howl or a female invite or something like that, and see if I can get anything listening back. If I don't, then I might put the next call might be a pair, like a female male, little group serenade or a little thing like that, and wait and listen. If nothing's answering back, then I'll go into like a distress, usually just a rabbit or what have you. And again, you're constantly scanning. And then if still nothing, then I'll finish with a pup distress or something. And if nothing there and it's tournament play, that's about 15 minutes. We're up and out of there.
Okay.
But
so those hour-long sits, are you stretching that distress longer or the vocals longer?
It depends. If we're out there and if they're answering me back, usually I'll vocalize with them back a little bit, and stretch that out. But then I'll switch up to where it sounds like they're fighting a little bit, fighting over food or something like that, and then mix in with a something squealing, a distress of some sort, and just kind of watch what's going on. If we spot them out there a long ways, but it's so windy, we don't want to take that shot. We watch their body language, and that tells me everything about it. So once I'm watching body language on them, I'm a believer that a lot of people think these animals are very, very smart. I don't think so. I think they're a creature of opportunity. And if we just watch them in their spotters, just watch them in our scanning. Excuse me, my throat's getting a little dry.
You want me to grab you a bottle of water?
That might help.
Yeah, hold on. Keep talking.
But what we'll do is, as we're watching them, and everybody's seen it before. You see one out there a bit, and then they just sit down. And you're calling and calling and calling. And they just sit, and they're not doing anything.
Yep.
What I do is it doesn't matter. Like I said, if I'm using my old wildlife technology call, I don't have a display. It's just got numbers. I'll just hit like number 1 play, and I'm watching him. And if 10 seconds go by and he's still sitting, I just go 2 play. 10 seconds go by, he's still sitting, 3 play. It doesn't matter. Every sound's different. I'm looking to trigger a response out of him. Once I see him rise up, I play that play. I just keep letting it play out. Usually you'll see their heads go back and forth, and then they'll start coming in.
Right.
And then once they come in, you got them. You just let it keep playing with that. But it's weird how a lot of people will claim they'll never come in. I can't ever get them to come in. They sit down out there. Just keep changing up your calls every 10 seconds. But you got to watch him.
Yeah,
watch his
that's
body
important.
language. If he stands up, stay on that call right there and let it play. Just let it play.
Interesting.
That's what's worked for us.
And I think a lot of what we've seen too is if they're not just sitting there, and you're looking for them to rise up, if they're pacing back and forth on a fence line or a specific area, But they just keep pacing back and forth. It could be a territorial problem where they just won't come into the area that you're in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And go from there. So, again, watching the body language of them is pretty important. The other thing that is really important as well is not so much maybe your sequence, and I know that's what the question was, is like, what's the sequence, but also your volume based off of the terrain that you're in. I've talked to a lot of guys that, man, we went out, didn't have any success. What are we doing wrong? A lot of it can be the volume. You don't have to go out there and blare as loud as the caller will go, because a lot of guys will buy the loudest caller out there and they go out there and they turn that thing all the way up. It depends on your terrain. It could be too much. It could be too little. So you really got to pay attention to that. To Eric's point, yeah,
absolutely. That volume's a lot of people, a lot of new beginners, they just blare it.
Blare it. Yep.
I could tell you, I've killed more coyotes on a sound that I can barely hear my speaker going, and I've seen coyotes come in from 500-600 yards out.
Right.
A timberline where I can barely hear it, just a little mouse squeaking or something like that, a vole, and baby mink distress works good on one of my things. But regardless, but keeping that volume real low, and then I've killed more that way, where you'll just see them come up and there they keep coming.
No, you will.
Just because you can't hear it doesn't mean they can't.
And it's amazing. It's amazing, some of those.
And talk about how humbling that is. Talk about being really quiet on stands. You can barely hear it, but this coyote's 500 yards away,
and they can hear it. And we've been sitting there before and watching them through our scopes, and we're like, he can hear that, and,
right.
and we're like, oh my God, some of them look a half mile away.
Well, that was
we can barely hear it. And
that's one of my questions on here is, how far do you think you can call in a coyote audioly? A
long ways.
Like over a mile.
I think so.
So do I.
And
so do many other people that I've had on this.
Yeah.
Because of, just howling alone, they can hear that howl. If you can hear the howl, they can.
Mm-hmm.
But like distress calls and stuff on a quiet night, it's been pretty unanimous over a mile.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, on a quiet night, if it's high wind and you've got if it's early season too, and there's a lot of leaves rustling around, that's really going to affect your sound,
sure,
or how far it will travel. So that can make a big difference for you too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, so we'll get into some scenario questions. These are one of them is from me, and then the other ones are from listeners. But you hear Coyote Serenade on stand. They're 600 yards away or less. Very callable coyotes. Two scenarios here. So the first one is you open up a howl and then they cut off. Just quickly, what are you going to do next?
Okay, so we've came in, and then we're hearing them howl first.
Nope. You set up. You howled. You did an interrogation, female invite.
And they answer me back.
They answer you back. A whole gaggle of them.
Yep. Usually I'll sit tight for just a little bit, but I don't sit tight a long time because I think they lose interest.
Sure.
But I'll sit there maybe 20 seconds, and then I'll just kind of maybe howl back as like I said, I like that female male little combo. A lot of them, if you're looking on your thing, it might say like young female, young. I don't want to scare them off in case they're younger coyotes. Don't want to.
Right.
But I want to make them think that they could whoop me.
Sure.
Yeah. But like say, hey, we're over here and there's two of us, and we're on your territory.
Sure.
Like that. That's what I'll usually play, and not very long, just a little, 15, 20-second little segment, and then sit, and then see what they do. If I don't get anything next, then I go right into a low volume stress, and see if that. By then, we're scanning, and usually you can see some dots out there with your thermals, usually, and then I just go immediately into that body language thing. If they're sitting, I just start changing the distress, and it didn't really matter what the sound was. I think too many people get caught up in, it's got to be this baby cottontail, or it's got to be. I don't think so. I think because every coyote's different.
Right.
I think I just keep switching it up until I see them, bam. And when you see that trigger response happen, them dots are moving, and now it's a race to which one's going to get to you.
So,
and that's what's happened to me.
So same scenario, but different opening. So a guy by the name of Jack asked this question. He's like, I came into a stand, I started distress calling, and then I heard Coyote Serenade. Do you go to howling then, or do you keep your distress?
Again, what I've did is I like to get to that. If you can get a combination of that young male, young female thing, I usually just do a real little short. Some of them might even say like aggressive young male or aggressive young female. We just do that, and it might only last 10 seconds on your
So
sequence.
not quite a challenge.
Not quite a challenge, but just enough like, hey, we're here, but and then just see what happens. I mean, scanning that area immediately.
Sure. All right.
And if I got nothing there, and then I go right back into that distress.
Jamie, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think, like Eric mentions, and I've learned a lot from just talking to Eric too, is just changing it up a lot more than what I used to. I always have tried to put together a scenario that, kind of talks to the coyote, like a scenario where, you start off with, some howls, and then you have a distress, and then you have like fighting over food, and then, some of those different things to kind of put together a story. But sometimes it's just as simple as just switching it up and playing some different songs. The different thing is the duration that you do it. You don't have to do it for a long period of time, depending on, kind of your terrain, the wind, that type of stuff. The longer you go in a sit, or a stand that you go out and do, it just all kinds of varies up. But I would say for the listeners out there, the most important thing is try different things. Until you start seeing success at your certain properties that you have, especially if you're going back and hunting the same places over and over again, find out what works well in that area, but don't be afraid to change it up.
Yep. And I've also noticed that some of those stands, like that scenario you just had 600 yards away, if they do get to coming in and they come to the halfway mark, 300 yards out, and you're not sure, you got people, I'm not sure if they're, how far they are, if I should shoot or not. If they stop and they pace back and forth, and you're going through your little, try number
Punch
5,
list,
try number
right.
6, try number 7, and then if they start to bug out at all, that's it. I mean, usually you can get them to stop by just hitting play number 9 or play number 10, and they'll stop for a split second, look back. If you got to be able to take that shot then. If you're gonna, usually I can't get them to come back in once they start to bug out on me.
Right.
But I can get them to stop by just changing it real quick. I've been with people before, like, what do you want me to play? As they're bugging out, and I'm like, anything, just hit something different
To get them to stop.
And as soon as they stop, then bam, drop them.
So that was kind of one of the other questions that I had, is that you had coyotes coming in and they stopped. So there it is. Like, if they stop and they stop committing and begin to leave.
Yeah,
gig's up.
The gig's up. Usually it's maybe a territorial line. Could be as simple as a tree in the middle of that field, and they know that that's their line. I've been in that scenarios where they only come to that mark or a fence, and that's it. And I don't know if they know that, hey, on the other side is another group of coyotes that's whooped them before or what have you, but it's weird how they'll kind of stay in their areas. But yeah, if they stop and you can't get them and they start to bug out, you got to just change it up, or do something to try to get them to stop if you're going to take that shot.
I've kind of seen that scenario where you got a coyote coming straight in at you, and then all of a sudden they'll kind of 45 off to the left. But
usually downwind.
Their head is still pointing right towards you. They've probably seen something they don't like.
Right. All right, so now here we got one for you. You got a coyote coming in on a string, and there's some type of terrain diversion where you lose them, whether it's a hill, an irrigation ditch, a small patch of timber. He's within 200 yards, but you lose him, and it's been 3 minutes. Is that coyote gone?
No, he's there.
He's still there.
He's still there. We actually had that scenario here in the last couple of weeks. I've had it twice happen. One scenario we were calling, we seen one, and he disappeared right into a hill where we couldn't see him behind. And I'm like, keep scanning, guys. So I stayed on the gun, and Ron and Matt were scanning with their scanners. And then all of a sudden, my brother Matt said, here he is. Well, he's 50 yards. He pops up, and we had, before we got the shot. But they're there. It's just that he hasn't decided yet if it's what he's trying to figure it out. But most of the time, he's going to be probably moving downwind.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to be wanting to scan to the downwind side most of the time.
Yep.
And that's where he's going to pop out. But if you didn't set up correctly and that downwind spot
Is
where
blind.
he can smell you is blind, he may bug out. But
All right.
another scenario we had was same kind of situation. We saw one at probably what was he? I think about 410. I think the rangefinder said, and he was heading to a little drainage ditch down in an area. And he dipped into that where it's covered in foxtail and stuff like that. And we saw him. We tried calling. We never did get him to come out. Well, we ended up having coyotes on the backside of us coming. So we switched and turned to them, but they wouldn't come any closer than 800 yards or something. But we saw them out there.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, we can. Oh, that I'm going back to that Envision thing. I mean, I've seen them at a mile. And that rangefinder, I've ranged things at 1,900 some yards before.
What?
So yes,
That's a very good
yes.
rangefinder.
Now, by body language, way they run and stuff like that, I could definitely tell they were coyotes. There was a pack of 5 of them, but they would run back and forth. This is like a mile out in a flat area of ground that we were on. But anyway, getting back to that one, they hung out at about 800 and wouldn't come. I didn't feel didn't feel comfortable about that shot. But I thought, let's just go back to that one that we saw 30 minutes ago. And we just kind of moved around. We only had to move about 60 yards because we gave up on him. And there he was. He popped out at 569 yards is what he popped out at on the rangefinder and that.
And then you shot him.
And then made the shot, yeah.
Just 569 yards. Jesus,
So it was like,
man.
Yeah, with my 55, it's like 2.7 or 2.8 mils. We had.
That's nuts.
Pretty cool.
All right, so last scenario here. You got a coyote coming in, but it's bumped from like an outside source. Definitely not you, hasn't winded you. You know, a car drives down the gravel road, or maybe a noise comes from the barn lot, or a deer blows at you. You know, it boogers him up and he goes away. Now, is that hunt kaput? Or do you think that coyote will still come back in? He just got buggered.
I've been in that a little bit where I've had a car coming
the
down
big
the
one.
road and end up disrupting it. I've actually had them about 2 or 3 different times. I'm about 1 out of 3, I think, on that. The 1 out of 3 that I was successful on, that coyote was coming in on a beeline for me, like I said, a creature of opportunity. He was hungry, and nothing was going to deter him. And he stopped. That car went by, and he waited, paced back and forth a little bit, and then continued on.
No kidding.
But the other 2, no. They got bumped and
It's
kind
over.
of paced back and forth, and he disappeared out, and we got out of there.
I think the big thing there is like if that does happen, don't further educate the coyote.
Yeah.
You know, right? Like it sucks. You had one coming, but just lick your wounds and get him next weekend.
Yeah, I was going to ask you the same thing, Eric. When you go out and you discover that maybe you set up wrong, and now maybe one wins you, do you let him run off and just kind of back out at that point? And
It depends how far it is.
yeah.
If he's running like crazy, usually he's gone. We just don't worry about it because some of the areas that we hunt's a lot of farm ground, and there's tractors and people walking around all the time, so they're kind of used to that smell.
Yeah.
So we don't further educate them with shots fired at them. But
Right.
But yeah, if he it goes downwind and decides to stop, and he's 200 yards out, he's gonna get a shot at it.
And I've gotten into these situations before too, where you go out and you're checking your Onyx app and you're checking the weather and you know exactly which way the wind's blowing, and you get out of the truck and it's like, no, it's not blowing that direction.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, the wind's pretty much swirling, right?
Right.
Do you back out if it's swirling, or do you still go ahead and try to do it if you're just out for fun?
A lot of times we just go ahead and call if we're in an area that we're just for fun. I'm only gonna make a couple sets, and we're only in this certain area for tonight. And I've called them in with the wind wrong and everything before, and they've came in and we've shot and killed them. Again, it just matters if they're hungry,
Sure.
or what have you,
Yeah.
or what they're wanting. I've shot them where you shouldn't have. I mean, where they're coming in downwind of me, and they just don't care, and they keep
Right.
coming.
And you're like,
and I
how the
think-
heck am
I'm
I
like,
getting
how-
away with this?
Yeah, so I just shoot them, But
Some of the best successes I think we've had is when it has been super, super cold for a long period of time, and if there's snow on the ground, they're hungry,
Well, that's what I just.
and they're gonna come in. But also we've also had a few experiences too where right when it turns cold, they're like Eric said earlier, kind of creatures of habit where they're cold too, so they're gonna stay in their den and they're not gonna come out, right? Sometimes they'll do that, but the longer it goes that they start getting hungry, then it's a good
weird. We just had a big snow here the last couple of days. Now I've got cameras out here and there too on popular trails and that where they're at. Well, we starred one of mine on the picture 2 nights ago. On that first night that it snowed, I got a picture and it's got 6 coyotes standing in it in one picture. And we haven't hunted that area yet, so
That'll be a fun
It's going to be a fun hunt.
So then this cold weather doesn't shy you away at all.
Well, no. And then the following night though, which was yesterday, I'm thinking, well, they'll be out again. No, I think it was nothing was happening last night. So I don't know if it's a barometric pressure change or what have you, but I don't know if the moon or whatever, but I do a lot of fishing in that too, barometric pressure. But with the coyotes, if the pressure is kind of high, I haven't did as good.
Nope.
And if the pressure's
Lower,
I've did better.
I've seen to have better luck too with
lower
with the barometer falling. Right.
Yeah, if I'm in the 29 range, that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing well. But if it's getting close to 31, I'm not as well.
So, with more okay, Jamie, you can attest to this. More and more people are buying thermals. They're
Sure.
What you get for an entry level budget, it goes a long way now. I mean, Eric, do you think, because you've been doing night hunting for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
a lot longer than most, are you seeing this affect any of the hunting that you do at night? Are coyotes being a little more tentative? I mean, how do you think the more nighttime hunters is affecting nighttime hunting?
Well, I would probably say they're probably educating more on missing if they are, but I haven't had any negative effects yet around where I hunt yet.
Sure.
But I do like how the technology is getting way better. I like being able to see, some of them first ones that came out, I can't remember. It's been a long time ago. I bought one. It was like a Armacite Predator, I think it was. And it was just like a 2 to 8 power. It was, I don't even know it might have been 256 or I don't know. But,
Right.
but that was a game changer.
Right.
And here I'm thinking, no, this is awesome. I could see them.
Oh yeah.
And, they had to be within 150 yards, but it was still better than other stuff that I was using, but.
And now you got the iRay RS75 that is a
Yeah, it's
1280,
crazy.
and Eric come over and looked at that, and he's like, "Well, this is just like cheating."
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
It is.
So
Speaking of that, I got a buddy that's kind of a tech geek, and he goes, well, they figured out like how to get it clear, but he's like, I was looking at the processor, it's only 60 hertz. He's like, I bet you that'll be the next thing. They'll go to like a dual processor and make it like a 120. So you'll have much. He was trying to explain it to me like lag in a video game.
Yeah, that's how it is.
And he's like, you'll have it'll be a much smoother image than what you're seeing.
yeah, there's even some of the scopes out there right now that I don't notice it as much for my eye, but I've had customers come over and they say it seems jittery, even when it's a 50 hertz versus the 60. The one thing that we've run into a little bit with the 60 hertz is you can start to see the screen start to kind of pulsate or flash, or just because it is that higher hertz. But, I think what's got to change is a better processor. But there's also flip side to that, right? The faster the processor that you go, the more heat you generate, the more
bigger
battery
the unit
power
you're
it
gonna have
takes,
to have.
and
The
bigger
battery
unit.
life goes
The
down.
battery life, and battery life is a big thing with thermal. My Gen 3 night vision, I can put 2 AA batteries in there and run for 40 hours on it, right?
Wow. That's a difference.
Oh yeah, a Gen 3, it's just
Gen-
2
and
AA
they-
batteries.
And I'll tell you what, it's tough to beat them in clarity.
Yeah.
Right.
Gen 3 night vision is really, really clear. You just don't have that thermal.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You got to see eyeballs or see movement with the. versus thermal. You
And
can't
some
hide.
people don't like dealing with the IR lights. The bad thing with the thermals are, you're probably putting an external battery pack on, or you're carrying a lot of extra batteries with you just because the thermal technology is power hungry. So
Sure. All right, Jamie. So before we get into the Would You Rather segment, SHOT Show. Do you have any things that you're just like, man, this was knocked my socks off? You got 3 of them that you can rattle off quick?
yeah, I think, everybody came out with some stuff that's really new and really cool out there. There's been a lot of movement in the digital night vision area, but as far as thermals go, Pulsar's coming out with a merger that they've already got the Merger XP50 out. They're coming out with an XL, which is going to be a 1024 processor, image quality on that. So it's kind of bridging the gap between that iRay RS75 and the Pulsar being at a 1024 for. And don't quote me on the price yet, but I believe it's going to be around that $8,000 mark. And when I first saw it as a binocular at $8,000, I was like, wow, I don't know that that's going to be a huge seller. But even after talking to you on the phone the other night, it is bridging the gap between that and that RS75, and it's still $10,000 cheaper.
$10,000 cheaper.
$10,000 cheaper. Yeah. So that is a nice thing, and I'm excited to look at those. However, I did not get a chance to look at any type of prototypes or anything like that with it.
Sure.
The biggest thing is when I talk to my rep, it's going to be probably another couple months before those hit the market. So, but I am excited to see those. Even the merger that they've got out right now, that's the XP50, the screen in it is just absolutely gigantic. And I think Ron,
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, Ron Moss has got one. So.
You literally looks like you're sitting in the middle of a
Movie theater
by yourself looking at the big screen. I mean, it is so nice looking.
So Robert has one, and he said, and he has a nice monocular, but he goes, dude, I don't have to turn my head near as much. And he's like,
you get a wider field of view.
And he goes, he's like, I consider myself a fit guy, but he's like, holding that damn little rangefinder, that 15-ounce rangefinder, he's like, my shoulder gets tired, dude. He's like, I don't know why, but just binoculars are more natural, less eye fatigue and hand fatigue.
The only thing negative I could say about it when I was looking through Ron's is if you're looking through them at an extended period of time, when you pull them away, you get that
You're
I call night eye. Both eyes are kind of dark a little bit, but
Right.
It doesn't matter if your eye's going right over to your scope. You're fine. But
I've even heard of some people with the binoculars actually keeping one eye shut when they're looking through so that they can keep their other eye good. Well, kind of defeats the purpose of the binocular,
Right.
but you still do have that lot larger screen. It's got the laser rangefinder in it. Even the new ones, when you put them down, when you're not looking through them, they automatically shut themselves off to conserve battery power.
And they're not shining in your face.
And they're not shining in your face, exactly. They don't have all that extra light coming off of them. A couple of other things that came out, SHOT Show, iRay's got quite a few different units coming out. They've got the first multi base magnification scope coming out, which will be a 1.5.
Is it optical?
It's an optical adjustment. Yep.
Whoa.
So it's kind of like their Zoom series that they have out right now, which is the dual field of view.
Right.
The dual field of view scope will be, I believe, a 1.5 and a 3x base mag. So it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. And I think that's going to probably hit home a lot more with the guys down south that are doing a lot of hog hunting, but then they go do a little bit of coyote hunting, or vice versa. They're doing a lot of coyote hunting, but they also want to go hog hunting.
Sure.
They got kind of the best of both worlds in one scope. And then they've got an HD version coming out as well too. So it's going to be a little bit higher definition. They're using more of the 2560 screens. So they're getting more clarity with their screens and so forth, which is kind of interesting. They did also come out with a kind of a multifaceted unit where you can it works as a standalone scope, but it also will be able to go onto as a clip-on.
Right.
Yep. A lot of people say, well, that's not really earth-shattering, but what's kind of different about it is the keypad actually removes from it, and you can get it back closer to you, because when you have a day scope and then you've got your thermal on the end of that, it's really hard to reach to the end to make your adjustments on that particular
I didn't even
thermal.
think about that. Yeah,
you'd be reaching way forward, where now you can move that that control back closer to you. So that's kind of an industry first, if you will. So some neat things coming out there. I was kind of excited, even along the lines of AGM. I haven't been a huge AGM fan over the years, but they did up their game on their warranty on anything that's a 384 or a 640 to a 5-year transferable warranty.
Big deal.
Which they didn't have before, which is a huge deal. As long as their customer service stays up there and
right.
goes well. They did come out with a new line of monocular, so they're kind of getting away from, and I don't know that they're going to discontinue anything.
The Fusion line.
Yeah, so they've got the Fusions and then they got the Type Hands.
Yep.
So, but they're coming out with a Sidewinder.
Yep.
I'm kind of excited for that because it's going to be running off of an 18650 battery, which is pretty universal. You can carry lots of them with you, and they're coming out with
cheaper.
Yeah, cheaper, way cheaper.
Yeah.
So they're going to have 4 different models in that lineup, 2 384s and 2 640s. So I'm kind of excited for that because more and more people are looking at monoculars because they're sick of scanning with their rifles and there's too much movement and all that kind of thing. So, like I said, lots of good things coming down the pipe. Envision, for Eric, you mentioned the XRF, they announced that later on this summer they will be coming out with a clip-on unit as well too. Wasn't a whole lot of.
That's going to be your ballywick, man.
Well, I've got a couple of some custom GA precision rifles that with a Night Force scopes on them, and they can really reach out there. Let me tell you. And
Yeah.
If that had some sort of clip-on the front of that.
Yep. So
usually those are really pricey.
yeah, the only thing
Not
is they
cheap
did
being
not.
cool, man. You give Jamie a call. I'm sure I'll tell you one as soon as they come out.
Yeah, there was not a whole lot of detail on those, but they said look forward to a clip-on unit coming out, this summer, maybe this fall. But it could be pretty exciting.
I can see Eric's mind,
Eric's,
dude.
yeah, his wheels are turning.
That 22 Creedmoor is going to get a Night Force on it.
Yeah.
All right, so now this is a Would You Rather segment. You guys can take turns going. We'll do Eric first and then Jamie.
Okay.
But all right, so you shoot 6 coyotes in one night or 10 in a weekend. Now, this is probably chump change for you here, Commander, but like for me, that's a good night. So 6 in one night or 10 in a weekend?
Is this just individual or a team?
Just you.
Just me. I'd go with 6 in the night.
Jamie?
I would.
Yeah, I was going to say 6 too because
tomorrow night might be more.
yeah,
We don't know.
I like the way Eric thinks there. However, for me, with the limited amount of time that we get with being the busy season for Dark Night Outdoors, if I got 6 in one night, I would probably say, well, I'm probably not going to go the next night and let things rest up a little bit and go from there. Yeah. One of the differences too, and we've talked about a lot of different calling and sequences and all that different stuff, but it really does depend too on how much ground you've got to hunt. I am, lacking in that area where Eric's a little bit more. He's got a little bit more property to hunt.
Yeah, that's the partner Ron. Ron's got a lot of farmland and opportunities to go, and that's
and so sometimes that'll make us sit a little longer too. Just because we don't have as many places to go to, and you're trying to squeeze every bit of success out of every spot that you go to. But I'd have to say 6 in one night.
I swallowed my water wrong. All right, so would you rather kill a wolf or a mountain lion?
Me? I'm gonna say wolf, and here's the reason. I guess I've never went on either one. I've seen them on videos before. I imagine it's fun. I just haven't did it, but the whole using dogs and treeing a mountain lion, and now he's a 20-yard shot up in a tree. I mean, that's cool and everything, I guess, but I think I'd have a harder challenge because they say that wolf hunting's pretty hard. I think.
Yeah.
I think that you could call and nothing. And if you do get an opportunity, it could be a heck of a long shot, or it could be I just think it'd be harder. So I would go with
it depends on what you're going to cherish the most, and I think I would cherish, shooting a wolf more than
I would
treeing something.
I'm going to go with a wolf.
Yeah.
All right. Hunting coyotes. Now this is, you get a bolt action gun. Okay. you can either use a 22 long rifle or a 300 Win Mag.
That's no question for me.
Opposite ends. I know this
No
one's
question
like,
for me.
yeah, you're.
I'm going 300.
Oh, for
and here's
sure.
why. It ain't just the distance, but dead's dead. At 50 yards, that 300 is going to put him down too.
Right.
The 22 long rifle, he's going to have to be pretty darn close, like 50 yards, and you have to, or closer, and you got to put it in his head. It could be done, but other than that, you're going to be wounding him. He's running around, and he's dying a slow death.
You mentioned bold action. If it's a bold action, you got to go with the 300 just because. I'm used to my ARs, and I'm primarily an AR guy, and at the end of the day, I would probably forget how to put another bullet in and go from there if you had to take another shot. So yeah, dead is dead. I agree.
So this one is. I have a really good idea what you're gonna do already, but so you can either hunt one way or the other, and you can be seated on your butt with a tripod or bipod, or you can stand without support.
I've did both.
But you one or the other. So the reason why I ask this is like it's crazy how much of a difference seating and standing does for your ability to see to shoot. But I mean, how important is it to be able to be rested versus not?
I've did both, but in my scenarios, most of the time, I need to be supported. So I would be in a tripod or have some sort of support.
Seated,
because I'm telling you, on a 300, even a 300-yard shot, if you're not supported, that optical or your optics are bouncing around him. I'm not that good at unsupported to make those shots, but I can make those. Now, as for like walking a tree line edge and shooting things coming out, that's fun too.
Oh yeah.
We do a lot of that too. So during the days, during day hunts.
Yeah, and that's a tough question, honestly, because sitting or standing, it's going to depend on the opportunity that you've got. If I've got something in the backdrop of me, I'm probably going to be standing, something to break up my silhouette. If we don't have that opportunity, then I probably am going to be sitting. And I've done a lot more sitting than I've actually done standing. Getting back to being stabilized, if we're standing, we're definitely going to have tripods. And then even sitting, with our Dark Knight Outdoor tripod, you can actually lower the legs on it. You can spread them out, and you can even take one of the legs off and use it as a bipod if you want to as well too. So I'm stabilized either way, but if I am sitting, I usually take out like a turkey chair or what have you, and sit in that because I don't want to sit on the, obviously we've had a lot of wet winter this year, not a lot of snow, and sitting in the mud is not fun. I mean, so you're going to take your turkey chair out there, sit in that, and then go from there.
Well, I brought this one into the would you rather because oftentimes when I day hunt, I'm going to be sitting, and I'm going to have like my bipod on my gun or something. Well, some guys don't understand that thermals, there is no looking through grass like you can, or weeds, or so sometimes standing is almost necessary just to be able to clear that vegetation. But anyway, so last one here.
But scenarios play out in that question there. I mean, like I said earlier, if you're walking into a timber line and looking in, there's plenty of trees I could be supported. I'm standing most of the time. Every time I'm hunting, I'm standing, but I'm on a tripod, majority of the time. Right.
So last one here. You can use one or the other. Would you rather only hunt coyotes using distress calls, as many as there are, or vocals, as many as there are?
That's a good one. Me, I'm going to choose vocals because I'm a little better with I'm okay with vocals. I'm okay with distress too, but I think sometimes the vocals, you can manipulate that into a distress if you had to. But if you're talking about mouth calls and all that, I like to be able to howl, and you could change your pitch, whether it's raspy and deep or higher pitch like a female, or even, do your pup distress or anything just with a howler.
Yep.
And I do that a lot. There was times where I've hunted with just mouth call, and all I had was just a howler. And I'm just the old what was one of them I used? Like the old hot dog, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think that was a Primos.
Primos, yep.
Yeah, and you could do a lot of stuff with that kind of stuff with howling.
Yeah, and I would probably have been the opposite on that one. Now I'm trying to learn from Eric too to up my game a little bit, but I probably would have definitely gone with the distress calls. I think I'm more comfortable with them than the hows,
Yep.
like when to use them, when not to use them. The time of year to use them, that type of thing. So the distress calls to me are what I would have gone for. But I'm definitely learning all the time and changing up my game. So
Well, that's what's interesting about this series is like, so Joseph Worth, he is a coyote outfitter. He kills lots of his clients do, and so like Chris Kriener kills probably at least 5 coyotes a weekend, like every weekend or more. And so like getting those guys on, and then I've got another guy that hopefully will be on too. Hearing all the remarks, there's without a doubt, like the 3 that I've done so far, similarities and differences.
Okay.
Right. So like I'm kind of being the glutton of all this knowledge
take
here.
it all in.
Take it all in. But so do the listeners. That's why I'm trying to ask the same questions to see, okay,
Gotcha.
how do you do this compared to Chris and compared to Joe? And so it's interesting. But other than that, is there anything else you guys want to add? I mean, do you have any tournaments you're going to hunt?
I
Eric?
think we got one coming up maybe this weekend or the next weekend. Then
Well, Ron's going to be gone. It can't be
Ron
this
will
weekend.
be gone. Yeah, I'll probably fill in with my one brother Matt. Probably. Yeah, I think it's just a 2-person. It might be just a 2. I'm not sure. I got to look into it more. But we'll definitely be coming full.
did you
full
ask
strong again for
Ron
Mercer.
to leave the keys to the thermal cabinet so you
Right.
can borrow his?
So you can mergers? Yeah.
Actually, we're our team's pretty fortunate. We all got thermals.
Got good
We
stuff,
all got
yeah.
pretty decent stuff. But
Yeah.
you're saying to add things though. There's a lot of people that don't have anything. They're just starting out, or you got a young 12-year-old or something like that. Once again, you don't have to have all this fancy equipment and stuff to do this.
Oh, no.
Do this sport. You could go out there just with a mouth call, an old bolt action rifle or whatever you have. Find you a fence row with a chunk of little timber, whatever, a couple 100 yards away, and just sit down in it and start blowing on your distress and be ready. And a lot of times, especially with the wind downwind, you want to be watching downwind. And that's how I started. I got my son into it, doing it that way. And it's a blast watching them young kids or watching anybody get their first one. It's a blast. I get more out of that nowadays than I do actually going out and just killing, anymore. But
And that's one cool thing about coyote hunting. Like deer hunting is usually pretty calculated, or the way that we do it. And turkey hunting, very few of them kind of sneak up on you. But with coyotes, it's like everyone is different,
Yeah.
Yep.
And just like you said, you take somebody out to kill their first coyote.
it's awesome.
You try to explain like, well, it might happen in 30 seconds or it might take 20.
Yep.
Like, what do you mean? I can't. It'll just have to happen.
Yeah.
Like we want them to come right here.
Yeah.
But you might have to shoot over there. And if they do, you got to pick up and move. And like,
Yeah.
that's the thing that kind of gets me, is that it's never like a cookie cutter hunt.
Right. My sons, I'd hunted this one property for a lot of years. So, and 95% of the time they always popped out at the one area.
Yep.
So that was a perfect scenario to bring a first timer out, and set him up and say, hey, I want you to watch this way. Be ready for anything moving, And then I start to calling, and then he's like, hey, I got something coming, and I look, okay, that's a coyote. Just get closer, and just the thrill that you can hear in his voice, and I'm like, okay, here we go.
I've always thought it'd be cool, like iRay or Envish, somebody needs to come out with a heart monitor. You can hook up to the scope, and like you're wearing it, and it's like you just see the coyote coming. It's like dink, 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 dink,
Yeah.
dink, 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 dink.
Yeah. My partner Bill took his son out this year, and he got his first coyote. And
Awesome.
that was really exciting for actually both of them. And it's like Bill said, it just invigorated him to go out even more and more. And the only problem is though, now he says his son stays up all night, and he's always, hey, let's go coyote hunt. Let's go coyote hunt. I got to work tomorrow, So but it is exciting to get the younger people into the sport. We've got a lot of people that come by Dark Night Outdoors that are younger guys that, hey, I don't have, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to spend on a thermal, but you can even get in for night hunting into some of the good night vision, digital night vision stuff. for $1,000, maybe even as low as $500.
Well, I think this is a good time too to just say, like, you guys are rare where you rent stuff out.
Yep.
So like if you think, man, this is a lot of money, I don't know if I can justify it, and I don't know Eric Russell to see if I can go with him, or like,
Right.
so, you can rent one for pretty affordable, right? And it's get you an opportunity to like at least look through one or maybe put it on a gun.
Yep.
But yeah, like it's an investment. It's something that I think once you do it, and if you have some fun with it, man, you're like.
Yeah,
You're
depending
hooked.
on the overall cost of the thermal that somebody's looking to get into, depends on the rental rate of that scope. But you can get them down as low as $100
Right.
To rent them. And then at Dark Knight Outdoors, one of the things that we do to help the customers out as well is if they decide to purchase that scope, the rental fee goes back towards the purchase price
great.
of the scope
nice,
itself.
yeah.
That way, it doesn't have to get shipped back to us. We don't have to deal with a used one. We typically send out brand new units for rentals, and as those come back, then we will sell them as a used or what have you unit, and go from there. So anybody renting one, 99% of the time is going to get, a scope that's brand new
Right.
in the package. Go from there. If you decide to keep it, then you just pay the difference and go from there. So
Nice. Well, anything else then, man?
I'm fortunate enough. I've got 2 different setups.
Oh, of
Two
course you
different
do.
thermal
Oh yeah.
setups. And so a lot of times, if you're doing a little door knocking, trying to see about, if you see scenarios like somebody's raising cattle or something like that, they don't like coyotes.
Oh, no.
around there. If you know them farmers or something, like you knock on their door and tell them what you're doing, and that sometimes if you say, hey, you can just come out with me, and sometimes they're intrigued about it, and that's when my buddy's rifle, my
yeah.
second rifle comes out. We throw that on a tripod and sit him out there and call, and I try to get him to get the shot on his own property, but and just so happened that we happened to do that here just 2 or 3 weekends ago, and the guy, we made a 300-yard shot, and it was a countdown, 3, 2, 1, bam, ba bam, and we got him, and the guy was just like, oh my, I mean, it's an older gentleman, and he was just,
yeah.
oh my, well, it was enough where I think I just purchased another thermal from you for him. For that guy, he wanted one.
That's awesome.
But he just wanted one for, smaller stuff. You
Yeah,
know,
coons and critters and
coons,
that's-
critters,
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that to put on a little 22 long rifle. But it'll be neat. It's neat to have a buddy rifle system. So if somebody's, because it's fun to go with a partner,
Oh yeah. And if you don't have one, you're like in the dark.
yeah.
You're that third wheel. Like, you see anything?
Yeah.
Is he coming in? Shut up, dude.
And that's where you said about staying up all night. And like, if you got a buddy with you, usually that helps out too.
Oh yeah.
Thermos
and
of
if-
coffee or your Mountain Dew, and you're good to go.
And I think the thing is too, that all of us have to be very aware of is that hunting is a privilege. And when you are out pounding on doors asking for permission, be polite. Work with the farmers.
yeah.
If they don't want you to, respect their decision. If they're afraid of you shooting their cattle, what have you, get your equipment out and show them what you've got. A lot of them aren't aware of, what you have. They just think you're going out there in the middle of the night with open sights and shooting,
Right.
They don't realize that we can tell the difference between a cow and a coyote,
Well, yeah, a coyote and a dog.
A lot of times it's just getting your equipment out and showing them, and a lot of times they're amazed.
Yeah. I've actually got business cards I printed out, and it's got pictures of us with dead coyotes and some of our equipment, and a little rundown of our names, address, and phone numbers and all that. So when you're knocking on doors, majority of the time they're going to say no right off the get-go.
Yep.
I just say, can I leave you my card now? If you change your mind, blah, blah, blah. But
Right.
we're legit. This is what we do, and hand them the card. They'll say, oh, that's fine. And lo and behold, it might be a month or a month and a half later. They're, hey, are you the guy that, you get a phone call, are you the guy that shoots them coyotes? Yeah. And he goes, well, blah, blah, blah,
We just lost a calf to one.
or little. We actually had a few years ago. We had a lady that owned a couple Yorkies, and actually in the middle of the night, let her dogs out to do their business outside in the middle of the night, and coyotes got one of them
No kidding.
and grabbed it and took off. Never seen again. And boy, she was pretty distraught. But lo and behold, that was one of them I had a card on. She
You-
called back and she wanted, it was like World War III. She wanted them all gone.
Oh, yeah,
and
I was just
dead.
going to say.
So that opened the door there for that property, and it was great.
Dang.
Yeah, and to Eric's point too, he takes business card or what have you. Even if you don't have business card, I've just simply taken and taken my driver's license and made a copy of it and take that out there with me and say, hey, I've got a brown F-150 pickup truck.
Yep.
This is my license plate number. If you ever see me pulled along the side of the road next to your property and you're wondering, at least that way they know who you are.
Right.
And it makes them a lot more comfortable. The more you can make them comfortable with you, the better chance you're going to have to get out there and hunt their properties. So
And once you're in, usually they're like, you can go anytime, but I always send them a text before I go, and I'm saying, I'm going to be there. I'll probably be there in between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. If you hear anything, and then I'll be out of there.
I used to do that too until I was texting them at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and they're like, "Hey, don't text me anymore. Just go kill the coyotes."
Yeah, right. Yeah, because you forget. It's like 1 in the morning, and you're like, there you go. Oopsie.
Finding out what they prefer.
I need to clarify. I usually do that before the sun goes down. I let them know, hey, is it all right if I
Right.
go? And I'll be there in between this time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's, no, a lot of times, we're last minute and we're out trucking around but you want to find out from them too, what do they prefer as a landowner? Do they prefer that you let them know before you go and what have you? So
Absolutely.
yeah, no, I appreciate you having us on, Garrett.
No, thanks for coming. I'm glad we made this happen. Ron, sorry you didn't get to come this time, buddy, but I'm sure you really miss us from Hawaii.
Yeah, he's in Hawaii. They're going to be
Yeah.
I don't think there's
sunning
any.
it up and probably drinking it up. And
Yeah,
having
no
a good
coyotes
time.
to kill in Hawaii.
Yeah, probably not.
Well, I hope you win this tournament that you're in.
Yep.
Let me know how you do.
Well, I'll let you know.
And Jamie will be talking more, but thanks for coming on, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Garrett.
See ya.